Hi, Anthony. While we're waiting for people to show up, you can see on the screen, if you haven't joined Remind yet, so far that is Jade and Anthony, I believe, are the only two who have joined. If you haven't joined, go ahead and join. How you do that is up on the screen. And then also, I'm looking for something good to binge watch this weekend. So what you got for me? Oh, Anthony, you're not on here yet. Sorry. Join up. Okay, I've heard that a lot today, Jade. I've heard you's pretty darn good. So, okay, I'll put that on my list. A Netflix are awesome. Hi, Yvette. Okay. Hi, Kiara. As you guys are joining the class, you can see the code to join Remind. Go ahead and do that. If something happens and like I get sick or my technology isn't working, I need to be able to get a hold of you guys and let you know what to do for class. So please join our Remind so I can do that. Thank you, Saul. Thank you, Anthony. Hi, Francisco. Hi, Caleb. As you guys are coming on, please join our Remind. And then if you have suggestions for shows I should binge watch this weekend, shout them out or put them in the chat. Jade has added you and Heartland. Here's some other stuff I've heard. So if you've got a suggestion for me, let me know. Ooh, Pretty Little Liars. Okay, I've never watched that. Maybe it's time I start. And then join our Remind. Thank you, Francisco. John and Caleb and Larry, if you can, join my Remind. Okay. All right, well, if you've got binge watching suggestions, send them my way. Otherwise, let's get started with what we have to do today. Okay, we have been talking about origin stories, and we talked a little bit about the Iroquois creation myth world on A Turtle's Back. And so hopefully you guys submitted that in Cami on our Google Classroom. Let me ask you guys, according to that story, how did the universe and Earth and life begin? Ooh, Jade, let me know.
Okay, so the beginning of it was wasn't it a wife who was pregnant and she wanted
Mm-hmm.
from this, I don't remember what the name of the tree was, but she wanted from the bark of a forbidden tree. And
Mm-hmm.
so she sent to her husband. Her husband didn't get him the bark. Then after he returned, she went ahead and went and got it herself, and she fell to below, and
Mm-hmm.
then she soon raised her daughter in the same area. She still had no clue what
Mhm.
was going on above her. The daughter saw what was some what she thought was from above.
Mhm.
He didn't say got her pregnant, but blessed her with a child. And she had twins, and the twins were polar opposites. One of the twins was um, like a liar and deceitful and evil, and ended up killing the daughter by going through her armpit. And then the other one still came out normal, and he was truthful and he was nice. And the mom favored two the dark the what was it the left-handed son, and
Mhm.
the left-handed son. Soon they had to battle each other to figure out who would claim. So they had already created the earth and everything that goes on around it, and they would create different animals for each other's to keep balance in the world, and eventually it became just a balanced world. And then they had to battle to see who would rule over everything, and the he killed then the right-handed twin. He didn't kill him, he pushed him to a lower surface. So like, and then his the mom, the grandma, basically laid into him, and the right-handed twin had enough, so he beheaded her, and her head became the moon.
That's very thorough, Jade, and accurate. So nice job. So the universe was already there.
Miss, how you
And
doing? I'm
then,
sorry for coming late.
oh, that's okay, Cameron. Um, and then the Cameron, you're not on mute, darling. And then the Earth was created. Does anybody remember how the Earth was created? Jade knows. Anybody else? Okay, Jade, tell us. How was the Earth created?
The mother walked in a circle several times, and then the earth began to grow. And then when she had the daughter walked with her, and soon grew the earth.
Exactly. And the Earth grew from a tiny bit of dirt from the bottom of the ocean that was brought on top of the turtle's back. That's how we get the name of it, the world on the turtle's back. Okay, so that's how the universe, the Earth, and life began. And then how the natural world works. Jade talked about this. There's good and bad, light and dark. There's kind of this duality. And then what social customs and values are supported by this story. So what do you think the Iroquois value based on reading this story? What's important to the Iroquois? I can't tell if you guys are frozen or just not responding. Okay, see Jade shaking her head. How about everybody else? There we go. Okay. Well, the story made a point about talking about how one twin was deceitful and one twin was honest. So that would tell me the Iroquois value honesty or truth telling. And another thing the story made a point of was talking about the plants that were planted, what kind of plants they were and where they were planted. So that tells me that plants and, you know, the food or pleasure from tobacco that was provided was important to their way of life. And so they had a reason for why those plants existed and how they grew and where. So can anybody think of anything else? You can drop it in the chat if you'd like, or you can unmute yourself. Okay, well, this is what I want you guys to be looking for in the myths we're going to work with today. I want you to know what the story says about how life was created, the world, the universe. And I want you guys to look for how the world works, light and dark, good and bad. And then I want you to look for what values the people whose story this is. What do we know about these people if this is their story? What can we tell about their customs and their values? So we are going to go to a website called The Big Myth. So I'm going to show it to y'all first, and then I'll drop it in the chat for you guys to look at, okay? It is a map with a collection of creation stories. So here is what the website looks like. It is called The Big Myth. And I'm going to go to the myths, which is the globe icon, and you'll see a screen that looks like this. Look at all of these different cultures that have creation myths, okay? So if I wanted to learn about the Inuit, who live very far north, I would click that and a video would pop up giving me their creation story. I can also get that creation story in text, right? Same thing if I wanted to learn about the Zulu in Southern Africa. What we are going to learn about today, what we're going to do as a class, is a creation story I suspect some of you are familiar with. It's the Old Testament. And it is located here in the Middle East because that is where Christianity started. So we are going to watch this video, and then we're going to talk about those same things that we had that I just asked you about. I want to know how the earth and life began. I want to know how the natural world works. And I want to know what social customs and values are supported by this story. Okay, so I'm going to hit play, and I want you guys to be thinking about those things as you're listening to this story that may or may not be familiar to you, okay? All right.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was a formless void, and the heavens and the earth were in darkness. Then God said, "Let there be light." Light streamed in, warming the earth and the heavens. God saw that this light was good. God separated light from darkness, and called the light day, and the dark night. And there was evening, and there was morning, which separated the day from the night. Thus night came over the first day. On the morning of the second day, God said, "Let there be a dome in the middle of the waters." The dome stretched above all waters and formed the sky. Night fell on the second day. The next day, God said, "Let the waters be gathered together, and let dry land appear." And so it was. God called the dry land earth, and the waters seas, and saw that it was good. "Let the earth bear fruit," said God. And immediately plants and trees of all kinds filled the earth. The earth became rich and green. God saw that this was good, and night fell on the third day. On the fourth day, God said, "Let there be lights in the heavens to separate night from day, the days into weeks, and seasons into years." God created two lights, a greater and a lesser, and set them in the sky to be the sun and the moon. He also created the stars, and set them above with the moon. The sun rose on the fifth day, and God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures in the air and the seas, and on dry land." Creatures of all shapes and sizes began to fill the earth, and God blessed them by saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters and the skies and the land." God saw that this was good, and night fell on the fifth day. On the morning of the 6th day, God created man in his image and called him Adam. From one of Adam's ribs, he created the first woman. She was called Eve and was given to Adam to be his mate. God said to his creations, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth with your offspring and rule over the land and all of its creatures. Every plant that bears fruit and every creature on this earth is for you." And God saw that all of this was good. On the evening of the 6th day, God had finished with the creation of the earth. On the 7th day, God rested after all the work he had done. He blessed this day and called on all of his creations to rest on the 7th day of every week. The earth he created was a paradise where Adam and Eve and all God's creatures lived in perfect harmony. This was the Garden of Eden. In the center of the garden, God planted a large apple tree. He said to Adam and Eve, "All of what you see is yours, but I forbid you to eat the fruits of this apple tree. Promise me that you will never touch them." Adam and Eve promised quickly and didn't think about it again. Until one day, when Eve was alone, a snake came to her and spoke. "Why don't you eat one of those apples?" he said in a low voice. "Certainly not. We have made a promise to God not to touch that fruit," said she. "But surely you realize that those apples give whomever eats them great wisdom and knowledge. Surely God would want his creations to have this." The snake went on and on until Eve could no longer resist. She ate a bite of one of the apples and gave one to Adam, who also ate. Suddenly Adam and Eve possessed great wisdom and knowledge, just as the snake said they would. They immediately realized that they were naked. This made them ashamed, and they quickly covered themselves with leaves. God came to them later that day. He noticed that they were no longer naked. "You have eaten the fruit I forbade you to eat." "It was Eve. She gave me the fruit to eat." "It was the snake. He tempted me so I couldn't resist." God was furious. He sent them out of the Garden of Eden forever and cursed them as they were leaving. "Adam, because you allowed yourself to be tempted by Eve, you and all the men after you shall be punished by having to toil and suffer to live. The earth will yield her fruits to you only by hard and painful work. Eve, because you allowed yourself to be tempted by the snake, you and all the women after you shall be punished by having to bear children in great pain, and you shall be the servant of your man. Snake, because of your wicked act, you shall be punished by having to spend your life on your belly. You and all of your offspring shall be hated by man." And so Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden forever. Thus their lives were hardly, but they were wiser than all other animals to this day because of the apple they ate.
Okay, so let's talk about that. First, I want to talk about why I picked that myth to show you. We're in American literature, and I believe most of you guys know about the founding of our country. Some Puritans came over from Europe because they were being subjected to religious oppression. And these were Christians who came to America. And so much of our country and our early writing is going to be based on the Bible, because that is who these people were. They weren't just regular citizens. These were practicing Christians fleeing persecution. So the Bible is going to be very influential on them. And of course, because it was such a part of their lives, it shows up over and over again in the early American literature. So picking a story from the Bible makes sense, since that would be something that we'll be interacting with, I guess, at the beginning of this course at least, because it was such an influential book. Also, I suspect many of you are familiar with this story. So let's talk about this story. According to the story, how did the universe begin? Jade's going to tell me. Come on, the rest of you, help Jade out. Go ahead, Jade.
So it started out as it was just God, and then he was like, let there be light, and then he separated the light from the dark, and then he created the dome, which created the sky, and then he
That's right.
yeah.
I'm hearing a theme in what you're saying. God created. God created.
Well, not to bring religion into this, but in the Bible it says God created, and then this is
Exactly.
what
And
the Bible
so this is the Christian origin story. And it becomes truth if you have faith and believe it, right? The Iroquois who believed their origin story, it was truth to them because they had faith and believed, right? So, but this is a version of an origin story that we're going to compare actually to others. So the earth and life and the universe began because God created. How is that different than the Iroquois? Who created in the Iroquois?
Wasn't it the I don't remember who created it, but because it was the turtle's back, which is what they considered it.
Right.
But it was a mixture of everyone. So it was from the mother who was pregnant, and then her daughter, and having her two sons.
So think about the difference there. In the Old Testament story, God is doing the creating. And Christians believe that God is all powerful. Then think about the Iroquois story. This was created as a relationship between humans and animals. The muskrat had to bring the dirt up and put it on the turtle's back. The humans working with that are what grew the earth. And think about what that tells you about the Iroquois. There's not one all-powerful being. Mankind must live in harmony with nature, right? And so that's how the natural world works. There's good and evil. People and nature live together in the Iroquois. And in the Old Testament, it's a little different, right? Now, the reason why it's so hard for man to farm sometimes is because they ate the apple. They broke the rules. The reason why childbirth is painful is because Eve ate the apple. She broke the rules. So it's explaining why things are hard, which would be questions that people would have. Why is life so hard? Why does this hurt so bad? Why doesn't the snake have legs? And those questions are answered in this story. So for the Iroquois, truth was an important value. In the Old Testament story, what do you think is an important value? What did Adam and Eve do?
They ate the apple.
They ate the apple. And why was that bad?
Because God forbid it.
Yeah, John, that's right. They were disobedient. And so that is the value I think we could say we get from the Old Testament. Obedience to God is significant, right? And we know that because of what that story is holding as the high value, as the thing you must do. Okay, you guys with me so far? I hope so, right? So we're looking at creation stories, and we're looking at how they're alike and how they're different and kind of why they might be that way. Okay, so I'm about to drop the link to our big myth in the chat. And what I want you guys to do is you guys are going to go to this website and you are going to pick your own creation story. All right. There's tons of them to choose from on that map. So just find the one that you think interests you. And when you do, there is a form for you to fill out on our classroom telling me which story you've picked. As soon as you've picked it and you let me know, I will send you the Cami document of it. You can watch the video if you want, but you're going to annotate the actual text of the document this way. You're going to use blue to highlight how the earth and the universe and life began. You're going to use green to highlight how the natural world works. And you're going to use pink to highlight what social customs and values are supported by the story. Okay? So you're going to go to this website and you're going to look around. You know, there are creation stories from all over the world, and I don't want to tell you which one to pick. There's Aztec, Mayan, there's Greek, Japanese, Chinese, all sorts of stuff. So go to that website and look around and pick the myth you want. Then fill out the Google form. It has every myth on there but Iroquois and Old Testament, because we've already done those. And then I will send you that third myth in Cami and you will annotate it. After you've done all that, there's a question for you to answer on Google Classroom. But don't answer that question and annotated your own myth. Anybody have any questions? Okay, then have some fun looking at this website.
Yes,
I am going to... Oh, what's your question, John?
So you want us to tell you which one we chose in the chat, or?
You can do it in the chat, or there's a Google form for you to fill out. And so as soon as I get your response on the form, I will send you the Cami assignment. It might take me 5 minutes to get it together.
Did you go to? Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay.
I see it.
And then the questions for you to think about that you'll answer after you annotate your myth are, you know, how are these myths similar? How are they different? And then what does that say about us as humanity? What does that mean about what's important to us? All these different cultures are trying to explain the same thing. What does that mean? And you'll see that question up on Google Classroom. So, all right. Okay, Travis, I'm already getting some requests. So you can drop it in the chat. You can put it on Google form. It doesn't matter to me. And then just give me a few minutes to get it to you in Cami, and I'll make that assignment for you.